Good times. Our last Hall of Fame inductee this evening, and he's also our speaker of the night too, so we called him Sonny earlier, but Mr. Chad Sundem. And if you like, Chad, I can read your biography here and then have you come up and say a few words if you would like. Chad Sundem graduated from Moritz Senior High School in 1989 and participated in football, hockey, and baseball. He played for the Blues in 88 and 89 and was a member of the 88 Hall of Fame team. He was commissioned as an Army infantry officer after graduating with a BS from the United States Military Academy in 1993. While there, he was a 4-year letter winner and team captain in the hockey program and also played 1 year of baseball. He later earned an MBA from Touro University. Chad served just under 21 years in the United States Army, retiring as a lieutenant colonel in 2014. During that time, he completed 5 combat deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq and 1 operational deployment to Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. He held numerous leadership and command roles in both the conventional Army and Special Operations, the U.S. Army Rangers, culminating with command of Task Force Roster, a 1,000-person organization that conducted combat operations in Panjwai, Afghanistan, the spiritual birthplace of the Taliban. In 2003, Chad served as a Ranger Ground Force Commander in Iraq, successfully completing the first American prisoner of war rescue since World War II. For that deployment in action, he was awarded the Bronze Star for his valor. Chad was later awarded 2 other Bronze Stars for heroic and meritorious service in combat. He was also awarded the Legion of Merit, Army Belarus Unit Award, and numerous other distinctive decorations and commendations to include the prestigious Army Ranger Tab and Combat Infantryman's Badge. Chad has been with the railroad now for 11 years, serving in several key roles that included stops in Springfield, Missouri, Minneapolis, and now Fort Worth, Texas. He serves as the Vice President of Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway's South Region operation. He directed, oversees, and skilled a team of approximately 10,000 staff members and vendors over territory that spreads across the southern United States from California to Illinois, back down to Mexico. Chad is privileged to be a 2019 inductee into the Moritz High School Hall of Fame. He's married to a retired Army nurse, Tina, for 25 years and is blessed with 2 children, Hannah, who lives in Lincoln, and Bridger, who resides in Minneapolis. With all that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a nice round of applause as we bring up Mr. Chad Sundem. There you go, Chad. Congratulations again.
I don't have an aide to give it to. Somebody. Just kidding. There you go.
It's already. Thanks.
Bucky, I think we're past halftime now. Although I do want to say it's beyond humbling to be here, surrounded by family and all of you guys. To the Legion leadership, in particular, all of you for what you do every single day. Thank you. The Home Run Club, Slick, fellow honorees, and all the others that made this special occasion come to fruition, thank you very much. Now, I'm going to be honest, I got 12 documented concussions. The last 2 by jumping out of airplanes unsuccessfully, although I'm still standing here, so I do have notes. And I need to refer to them a lot, so I will look down occasionally, just so I don't remember. All right, so I do remember what I'm doing. Last time I went to the kitchen, I left with ice cream. I was supposed to do something for my wife, and hence my figure, Bucky. I'm not stealing anything. Those days are long gone. So why is baseball connected to the American Legion? It's a historic organization that fights for members like me, my families, and all the others that served every generation. They protect our nation and its values and its rights. But I didn't know why they were connected to baseball. I had no idea, shamefully. So I learned that they're connected to Those are some fun ones right there. Because John Griffith, a World War I veteran, envisioned a nation made better from the one he knew in the World War I era, healthier and stronger, more powerful and patriotic, and forged by youthful competition. In his solution, he preached good citizenship to go back to the sportsmanship awards. His solution was to play ball. Pretty neat. So 100 years later, born in South Dakota, Legion Baseball became what it is. So today there's over 80 National League Baseball Hall of Famers that played American Legion ball, to include Yogi Berra, Ted Williams, Bob Feller, and as we just heard, none of those guys played on teams like ours. None of them. Now, they didn't win a state championship in Ely. What he didn't mention is we also beat the flu at the same time. Thank you, Serge, for catching since I was out. They certainly didn't beat a future Hall of Famer named Jim Thome in the Central Plains Regional, much less did they rack any wins at the World Series. So, 1987, you all heard it. I knew what a good team was then. I was part of the football team. We were really good. We won state. Some would argue 13th in the nation, but that doesn't mean anything. The Blues, we were a third, Bucky. I will let you live your moment with fourth, but none of us will ever live up to that. We were different. We were really different. We were a great team. The perfect blend of talent, unselfishness, and leadership. And every day we had belly laughs about something. Even tonight, thank God I got a lot of concussions because I don't have the memory you guys do. It's embarrassing to figure what you guys came up with. It's crazy. But we were ordinary kids who achieved extraordinary things when we all came together. And before kids stopped being multi-sport athletes, we knew that Legion Ball, being called the Moorhead Blue, was a big deal. And the billboard on those silver and blue jackets that we wore ever so proudly after winning tells a story no other team could tell. And there's a text string going on us, and you're dang right, 50 and FM 14 was our record. So to my own kids, wherever you're at, we were a really big deal. I just want you to know that. State champs. So thank you, John Griffith, Major John Griffiths, for giving us a platform that would provide a bedrock for a journey I never would have dreamed I was going to go on. After 5 combat tours in harm's way, 3+ years spent at the tip of the spear, I can attest his vision played out in full color every single day. In haunting places like Panjwai, Iraq, Panjwai, Afghanistan, on Nasiriyah, Iraq, and Baghdad. And as General MacArthur once said, and then I walk by his thing every single day at West Point, upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that upon other days, on other fields, will bear the fruits of victory. So those wins and losses I experienced with this group turned into life and death. And team never had a deeper meaning. So thankfully, I'm here today to tell you that I'm 5-0. I wrestled, I was talking to some of you earlier, for months, putting together some meaningful message for tonight. Because to most of you, I'm Sonny as well, but my real nickname is Butter. I'm just the catcher. That's all I've ever been. And for more than many years, that was more than enough. And because, truthfully, you're the most important of who I am. I mean, literally. For who I am today, I can't thank you enough. So hopefully my words, I will tell some stories, so bear with me, resonate enough to tell you how much appreciative I am for what you gave me. So being extraordinarily introverted, I loathe speaking in front of people. Can't stand it. But it's important to talk a little bit about me, only because it gives me the medium or the platform to talk about some very special alumni of the American Legion. Your veterans are heroes and the nation's national treasure. And those silent giants were on some of the most incredible teams that I participated in history. Those were the Special Operations Units and the Rangers, and of course, Stryker Task Force roster. They deserve nothing less than for me to keep their sacrifice alive. Making it matter every single chance I get. For what you don't know is every organization that I've been a part of since 1988, they know all about you, because that's how I led. What I'm going to try to do is introduce you to them through me and understand how important that relationship was. So I learned a lot about playing on teams. Like I said, I was on some great ones, from amateur playing fields to combat, now in the business world. A little bit different there. But what emerged from all that was the DNA of great ones. Crystal clear. The cancers of bad ones, just as easy to see, and the intrinsic adaptability of those that maintain consistency. And of course, the various coaches and leaders whose success in direct correlation, was fiercely protecting the relationships between the leader and the led. It went beyond trust every single time, and we had that. So when I learned that bedrock and what anchors it, the culture of successful ones, is four things. It's loyalty, humility, fear of failure, and a lot of people don't like to say it, especially when you're young, but it's love. And it's defined a lot of different ways. Those are the most tangible characteristics of any organization that I've enjoyed success with. And I've only been a part that got to go on the ride with them. But every time those things stood out. 1987, 88, I knew what good teams looked like. We were good teams. With good teams came tremendous leaders of character who would shape my life in ways I could never. I wrote this to you, I think I have to be able to get through it, to repay. So Bushy, Hurls, Kostich, Cullen, Riley, who was my West Point coach, and of course, that man, Coach Berger. Important people. My dad died when I was 12. He left me and my brother his values, and those men, those coaches lived them for me. And all of you buoyed me through some pretty dark days. So I spent a lifetime trying to be like the teammate and leaders that others were to me, always at their best when I needed them the most. All of those early lessons gave me a critical direction and anchored my moral compass, helping me later navigate what would be known as the pure hell of combat and the invisible wounds that come with it. Those lessons carried over as a young man, first and foremost to winning. Team first, mission always, not the other way around. Can't be that way. Loyalty to something bigger than yourself, humility to be grateful for your gifts, but also see who you are and what you do not have. And the fear of failure to never, ever, ever fail your comrades, your teammates, your communities, and your friends. That's the necessary ethic that drives success, not success, but the preparation to be successful. And in every team, I knew that the price of admission had nothing to do with potential. It was a blend of skill and unbridled will, and teammates like you all that I had before that were all in, just like our bad boys. All in. And only if the courage to dare and the resiliency to see it through exists. So teams like I was on in the Iraq War, he mentioned it. It was the eve of the Iraq invasion. I was a young airborne ranger company commander. I had 200 steely-eyed men staring at me. We operated independently. We were part of a special operations task force that we did operations on the hunt for Saddam Hussein with Delta Force. We were elite. We were trained, and we were ready, but we're also human. And to be honest, we were scared. That night, I knew they didn't need to see me scared. They didn't need to see anything other than confidence. And they needed me to be at my best when I needed them the most. And I didn't know what to tell them, but what came out of my mouth was this. Every single one of us creates individual destiny. And it's only collectively that we can make history. So put your mouth guards in, boys. Rangers lead the way. I was an athlete. I had to use mouth guards. Well, at least we did. We crusaded all over Iraq, hunting and destroying the enemy. And then we were given a mission change. And after being awake for 54 hours, I was feet away from SEAL Team 6 as they loaded Private Jessica Lynch onto a Special Ops Black Hawk, successfully completing the first POW rescue since World War II. While she was being evacuated, you all already knew because the news had come across America. I was still on the objective with your veterans, hand digging out 9 shallow graves of her teammates and getting them back home to their families. We didn't know any different. We didn't have a choice. We were just living up to who we were, a Ranger Creed, and that you never let a fallen comrade to fall in the hands of the enemy. Those are your veterans, our heroes, my teammates, an incredible team, and I love them. As I said, I served with some special people, some really heroic teams, and some of those teams touched my life full circle, more ways than one. And here's another story. So the radio transmission came across that night. It was absolute panic and fear, and it was frantic, and it went like this. It said Kilo Alpha 6, which was my call sign, and 6 stands for leader. He said, we've been hit, and I need you to come get us. The enemy's all around us. And it was dead silence. Agonizing silence. Waiting for the next transmission to come. And it didn't. That was Brian Stover, Sergeant First Class Brian Stover, a.k.a. Sweet. He was my friend. He was my beer league hockey teammate in Washington, not as good as you, Duck, but he was a good line mate. And he was the leader of a special operations reconnaissance unit that was attached to me for the invasion. I think I dropped all the radio protocol, and I answered him something to the fact, I said, Swede, it's butter, and I'm coming to get you. He needed to hear me, he needed to hear my confidence, and he needed me to be at my best, because he needed me the most. And over my dead body, was he going to be left alone? Their unarmored Humvee, we didn't have armored Humvees then, open doors, was shot by a U.S. Army tank. Main gun round went right through it. The tanks were attached to us, given we had the possibility of meeting Iraqi units. The round ripped through the vehicle, wounded everyone, and killed U.S. Airman Scott Sather. We were on a mission that night with Delta Force in search of Saddam Hussein near Tikrit, Iraq. And even though that night was unsuccessful for many reasons, a few months later, through relentless pursuit, Saddam was captured in that very same vicinity, so we were close. First, small world story. A year and a half later, that beautiful woman sitting at my table would be one of the few Army nurses in the world. To care for Saddam Hussein after capture. She worked. I broke things, she fixed them. She was in the trauma unit at Baghdad, caring for all the wounded, killed in action, friend and foe. And I told you that wounds aren't always visible, so God bless her doctors and nurses who endure trauma daily. She's your veteran, my bride of 25 years, my hero. So I got to Swede that night, and we evacuated Scott as well and the other wounded. Now for the smaller world. So not only was Swede on there and a close friend, but there was a young sergeant named Matt Westra. He was also in that vehicle, wounded, thank God alive, quite frankly, and by all rights he should not have been. Matt was the brother of my coach, friend Rick, his brother, my classmate Missy, and he's the son of most of our 9th grade science teachers. And now he was my brother in the 75th Ranger Regiment. Those are your veterans, our heroes, my teammates, incredible one that I love dearly. Years later, I got to command a Striker task force that was mentioned about, deployed in the spiritual home of the Taliban. I'd consider it the epicenter of hell, as far as I was concerned. It was just, it's undescribable. But months after I redeployed, I went to Ohio to visit somebody really special. We stood together, we were on the Stars and Stripes as it was playing, and the flag reflected perfectly off this memorial that had a picture of Staff Sergeant Wesley Ross Williams, who was killed in action December 10th, 2012. It was a junior ROTC event, if you've ever been to one, to honor their alumni, Wes, and those kids were him just a few years before, and they all knew him. I said we stood together on purpose, because I was standing next to Krista Williams. She was holding an infant in her arms, just like we saw tonight. She had another one tugging on her pants leg as the national anthem played. She was really incredibly strong in the moment, hiding the pain that was behind her face. She was also an alumni of that school. She was a JROTC member, but that's where she met Wes. They fell in love, and then immediately married right after high school. She, Krista, was the first person I called on December 10th, 2012. Wes was my soldier. I remember the pain that dialed the number. She's amazing. My body ached, my hands trembled. She had already been told officially that she lost her husband, who was her soulmate, her best friend. But she needed me to be at my best. She needed me the most to help her navigate a journey that nobody should have to go through. Sergeant Williams was killed in action. He was mortally wounded by an IED when he maneuvered, helping his squad evade the enemy, doing what he did best. Wes, he never met Valerie, who was pregnant when he deployed, or she was pregnant when he deployed, and he certainly, most likely, we don't think Faith will ever remember her dad, except what she learns through the stories, like me getting to tell him, the pictures she sees, and of course the similar features she bears on her face of him. The team changed decades of history in that area and achieved what no one in the world thought was possible, a place that the Taliban had dominated and destroyed. The people will remember for not having to pay the Taliban to grow poppy or grow their own food because they had to grow poppy on the land they own. They're going to remember not having to leave their homes and go to the market so the Taliban can occupy them and waiting for us to come. They will remember that unit in West for not having their lives and their families' lives threatened to put out IEDs, and if not, they would go back and threaten to kill them. They will remember the sanctuary of security that we gave them, and they're going to remember him, your veteran, our hero, my teammate, Wes Williams. Of course, I'm never going to forget him. I love him. You know, he's a part of me every single day. You know, whether I want to think about him or not. Sorry. I have no choice. I can't erase the helicopter trying to land to pick him up and evacuate him. And I can't ever forget the doctor walking down the hallway, the dim light, shaking his head no, telling me he didn't make it. As I stood and looked at him, hoping he'd tell me something different. He said he massaged his heart in his hands, but he couldn't get him to resuscitate because he was too gravely wounded. He was sorry to me. I remember kissing his casket before I left Afghanistan, going back home to Dover, where Krista awaited his arrival. And shamefully, I remember carrying around a small leather piece of his boot in my hand and in my pocket. It was blown apart into shreds by the IED. Because I had to rub it in my fingers to punish myself for not bringing him home. Truthfully, I'm not going to reconcile that, and I pray that I can hide behind time and space from that moment. But I don't carry that anymore. I carry this, a bracelet with Wes's name and David J. Chambers, who was killed in action 16 January 2013, just so it invites questions, so it allows me to have a platform like tonight, the dialogue, to share their stories and making their lives matter. So never in a million years I would have guessed, as I rode my bike to Matson Field, like many of us did, along A Street, past Hardee's, the old creamery, and down on the corner by the river there was a stone little building called the American Legion. And I would have never imagined that my life would be here today. I thought back then the Legion was just a place, this is not to be offensive, for older guys with funny looking hats and pins and patches. Not an offense, sorry. But it just didn't register with me, and I certainly didn't know their souls, or nor did I understand or appreciate what they did for us on a daily basis, embarrassingly. I certainly didn't know my life would collide with them forever, and grip hands with the forefathers who gave everything, who gave so much. I've led too many memorials as a commanding officer, honoring too many fallen, giving all. Never had more clarity in my life standing in front of those formations. In doing so and watching comrades and families emotionally capitulate, trying to understand and comprehend what happened. Me too. Silently, visibly. I stopped counting at 75. I don't know the number. So those are just a few stories since the early days. And those may be the most important teams I've ever been a part of. But, so many ways, Jay and I were talking, they reflect on the fabric of what we were. It's really something I already knew, but the foundation was laid during the time to spend with all of you, literally. And those bedrock foundations, the team, coach, and leader were later honed, sharpened, and weaponized for good against evil in a way that I had no idea. And it's been a crazy journey, I'll tell you that. Despite the age, I often feel like the little kid who wanted to wear metal cleats, so bad, and make that crunching noise the big boys did. And at Matson Field, and went behind the dugout to get water. We waited for summer baseball, hoping to get on Johnny and Bucky Hyostic's team. Only if we were part of the clique. It's where Jay gave us all our nicknames. Used to grab our earlobes, still does. In the Harmony High School, there was a rivalry. It was the haves, the Southsiders, that was us. And then the have-nots, the North Side, the enemy. Some would say, some of their kids, where's Buddha? You guys were held over a few years. Because your 12-year-old Cootser and Napper drove their Camaros to Land Park while we raced around on bikes. So rivalry may have been early, but we all wanted to be Blues, literally. We play at Matson Field. Crazy. It was a little simpler back then. But you had idols like Mark Rice, catch. Dan Jeanette at third, Scotty Olson, I think he had a ponytail at short, never to be seen again. Kappas playing the day his wisdom teeth were pulled, I don't know why I remember that. Bierke, textbook throws to second, picking another runner off. Donnie Thompson hitting him off Jerry's. Crafty, Schwab, George, and of course, everybody knows Swanee, the little house in right field. Lem, you were my idol. And I mean that. But it was hard not to worship legendary George Palawa when he came to town from Bemidji. He was a giant among men. He was bigger than Paul Bunyan, I think. But when he visited Matson Field, that was a big boy field. That was the big boy field we needed to be on. Some thick mustache guy named Timmer meticulously cared for it. And it was the best field around, hands down, by far. And to ensure Matson remains a destination of choice for amateur baseball and a place where legends can continue to be made. Slick, I do have good news. I am honored to share on behalf of my employer, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. They'll be making a donation in the amount of $30,000. I'm not done, I'll go back for more. There was a head coach, scary, famously quoted with this: you don't go to baseball camp in the middle of hockey or football season, so why would you go to those camps during baseball season? I wasn't in the military yet, but that was a damn order, and I heard it loud and clear. I never went to another hockey camp the rest of my life. He was also the Concordia College coach, and a lot different intensity than our high school coach who sat in left field, wouldn't pay the 50 cents to get in and watch the game. Coach Hurley. But we love Coach Hurley's tremendous man and a legend to all of us in a lot of ways. And how about Joe Baker's selfless, just crazy energy for us. Jack Williams, our nemesis, he mentioned. I didn't know we lost 4 times. You didn't need to say that. Across the river, they had a couple studs on their team. And then, of course, the pillars like Hiram, Mama Stoke, Mama Keen. Happy birthday, Brad. Roger Kunka, for whatever reason, pacing the first baseline. He wore that thing out along the fence while his 16-year-old sensation dominated his first outing. I think it was a no-hitter, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had a great catcher. I love you, Tony. But there's also tears shed. We won a lot of championships. Mokes cried too. If you didn't think he'd ever cry, but we cried together. And Bergs, we talked about Bergie. God, we miss him. Infectious smile, $1 million smile, incredible athlete. Always his shirt untucked, always dirty. Just Bergs. He could do anything. We loved him. Financial sacrifice. I didn't realize we didn't go home, but parents made a lot of commitments back then. Meeting Muhammad Ali in the airport, watching him struggle write my name, Chad, after being completely lucid with Chad Matson in front of me. Horrifying. I didn't know what to do. And then the meatballs from New York City. Remember those clowns? Oh my Lord. Smacking each other around like mini Sopranos at the banquet. It was insane. I'll never forget it. We were the choir kids, which worked out well. And then that ridiculous, obnoxious cowbell that Mrs. Rose ding dang all couldn't stand it, and she got to do it like 11 times because they scored a lot of runs. But we shocked the world. We beat the one-eyed pitcher. If you didn't know, he didn't say that. The guy had one eye, and he's staring at it like that. Threw it 96 miles an hour. He didn't know where the hell the thing was going. But we beat him. Phil whipping out 72-mile-an-hour heaters, throwing 3-2 knuckleballs. It was crazy, right? And then getting to see ESPN. I think a lot of folks went there only to witness the top 10 play of their lives, highlighted as the catch. He's embarrassed about it, but it was truly by Matt's denying future Major League player, Major League Baseball player Scott Hatterberg RBIs, I think 128, 129, 130 in the Legion season. He was pretty good, but he didn't win. So Minnesota's version of Hoosier, we won. We still in the tournament. So in short, if I asked 17-year-old Sonny or Butter, what would 2025 look like? I'd say it looked just like I see it right now. Absolutely. Even with everything that's happened, the tears that come and the memories that came, I never would have dreamed of the blessings we've had gifted upon us, ever. Surrounded by giants of men whose ordinary kids accomplished extraordinary things because we collectively chose to do and make history as a group and not watch it go by as individuals. So thank you, men. And you guys were always at your best when one of us needed us the most. Surge, coming in big. So thank you for allowing me to stand in your shadows, illuminate a few of my other teammates, share their story, the crown jewels of the American Legion that make up the true Hall of Fame alumni of this place, and celebrate the incredible accomplishment of all of us tonight. You guys, you're my teammates, my heroes, and I love you. So God bless our soldiers, our veterans, and God bless America.
Thank you, Chad Sundem. Hard to top that, so that's why we saved the best for last. Great job.